maybe we'll begin.
We might as well begin. Hi, I'm Graham Whiteman.
I'm Lynn Whiteman.
And I'm Andrew Harry. And we form the Pride. We are the team at LionHearted. What are we here to discuss, Graham?
Well, we might as well start with consciousness, don't we?
No, because we need the preamble into what we do at LionHearted.
Oh, you mean... Well, at LionHearted, we are wellness consultants, wellness team. So we're the wellness team.
Yeah, and our
So
particular
it's about well-being.
Our particular discipline in exploring issues around well-being is to do with the ability, and if you like, the redefinition of the ability to relax and the benefits of relaxation. But that's the end game. There's actually other things to discuss before we get there. And one of the things we've noticed is the whole narrative in the scientific world is that science is a little bit confused when it comes to issues around awareness and consciousness. And in many ways, it seems to us from our experience that the whole narrative from science has been mystified. So this conversation today is seeking to demystify that. And as we go along, hopefully to deconflate some of the overlapping terms that are currently being used in exploring consciousness to enable people to make a step to improving their well-being and finding a deeper sense of well-being. So how do we want to kick off with that?
So how does well-being, relaxation and consciousness link together? What is the common denominator within that, how we feel?
We're getting ahead of the game.
It's about feeling though, isn't it? So am I feeling better? Am I feeling well? How do you recognize when you are feeling better and feeling well? So we have to it's been an open game to actually decipher the terms of consciousness, awareness, wellness. Where do we begin with that?
Well, I mean, we've taken some time to say that when you feel relaxed, or we've taken some time to find out that when you relax deeper, you feel better and you enjoy your life more. So perhaps that's the common root. It's because science often talks about the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, I think most people talk about the pursuit of happiness.
And being happy is an end state. So how does that relate to everything? Well, the scientific world seems to talk about consciousness and conflating the term awareness as well, as if they're two interchangeable terms on this road to this state of happiness. So
yeah, we've always worked with the areas of how do you make it simple, not how do you make it simple, but how do you actually explain it with simplicity. In fact, that's been our road all the way through, is to find not only a way to offer relaxation in a simple manner, but actually be able to simply explain it.
So it seems that science is using two terms that are well known, I think, but not really that well understood, it would appear. So consciousness and awareness seem to be used to describe a whole range of experiences, and they seem to be interchangeable terms as far as the science narrative is concerned. So perhaps it might be poignant to do a little diagram then.
Sure.
If we cast our mind back millennia, back to...
Can I do that? Yes, of course I can.
Back to a very ancient symbol.
Ooh.
I can make the dot a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So the circle and the dot, the circumpunct, or otherwise known as the monad, very ancient symbol, and it seems to be sitting there.
Appears in many places.
But it doesn't seem to be doing a great deal. It's just sitting there. But what is it? What was communicated with this symbol?
Well, many people thought it was just a symbol of the sun. And if you're talking in terms of the early, even pre-religion, it was always thought as the sun god or some other connection with something else.
Mm.
Anyway, what we'll do over the next short while is to actually sort of see where that fits into the modern frame of what's happening with the differential between, if there is a differential between awareness and consciousness.
Indeed, try and deconflate the terms. So if we were to just take it simply and say, if the dot in the middle were to represent consciousness and the circle on the outside was to represent awareness, would that be helpful?
How would you feel?
Yes, it does ring true. It does ring true. It's as though the self has a place to be, and the consciousness has a place to be.
There's much discussion, isn't there, around who we are, where the self is, what the self actually consists of, and I think that's probably where it all sort of mixes in together.
Yeah, I mean, there's other terms as well that are treated in the same way. Like if you listen to talks on YouTube or in TED, people often talk about thinking and feeling again as if they're the same thing. They just merge in one continuum. But actually, from our experience, from the therapeutic world, is these are two very different things. So perhaps, as well as consciousness and awareness, we might want to sort of separate and draw a distinction between those two terms too. So thinking in our minds, I think, would relate to awareness. It's a mindful application or a mindful exploration.
If we do link thought, thinking in with the awareness pattern, then it gives us some sort of control to actually sort of say that is that, then what is happiness in when you're looking in that level. So stress, we know, is in the thought process, anxiety is in the thought process, but where does happiness sit in that?
Well, it seems to me that happiness is a little bit elusive
in that frame. Well, as many people would say, are pursuing happiness. That all, just those words of actually putting it into an elusive state.
Okay, so if we have awareness and we think, then we're using our mind. So we're back into that state, into that bubble of awareness, really. And also it's becoming very effortful. It's tiresome and tedious to keep having that sort of dialogue going on in one's mind.
It's a consumer of energy.
Definitely.
And in the mind, when we're thinking, in our pursuit of happiness, there's effort expended to maintain an equilibrium or balance. So perhaps there's another diagram we can draw here to describe that. And I think it's quite simple. If you consider the operation of mind trying to maintain a position of balance,
a ball on top of another surface.
Yeah, or like an upside down saucer with a ping pong ball on the top.
So the ball would continually want to roll away.
Always wants to roll away from that equilibrium, that balance point. So the mind is dynamic. It is unstable inherently. And the effort taken to balance it is always returning it to equilibrium.
Yeah.
But that's exhausting. And we think that, well, I think certainly we feel that it's that effort that is the root cause for a lot of problems today for people's well-being and their mental health, that lead to inability to deal with stress or anxiety, leading to depression. Depression being an exhaustion of the mental effort required to maintain equilibrium.
Just from that state that when people are stressed, anxiety, that they want relief from that, but the mind wouldn't because of that situation. The mind wouldn't give them relief from that situation. So we always feel like we want to almost go back to that childlike state when you're cradled, when you're supported. And that's sort of a beautiful analogy of what consciousness or what some other support mechanism would actually do for us if we looked at it a different way. So to look at it a different way is to be cradled by the movement.
So are you saying, Graham, that what would be useful is if that was turned upside down and actually there was no effort at all to maintain equilibrium?
That in that circumstances, yeah.
So if the top diagram is relating to awareness and the mind and the effort required to maintain equilibrium, then that cradle diagram, would it be helpful if we related that to consciousness being something other than awareness?
Outside. From a baby's point of view, it's that support of the mother in the cradling process, so that the energy feels totally supported, as can totally relax.
So are we saying then
And the effort is minimal.
So to draw a distinction between awareness, which is something perhaps we develop as we get older, and we develop a bubble of awareness to engage with the world,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
then perhaps when we're younger and we're being cradled and supported, we're just dwelling in consciousness, in our innate consciousness.
Yeah, what a playful area it is.
And where is that? Where would that sense of self as a young child be?
Well, it certainly isn't in a thought process.
So it's not in the head.
No, it doesn't appear to be.
And so with the connection with the mother and the cradling process, it's highly likely that it's going to be in the heart area.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Okay. So far, we've got to a point where we've drawn a distinction between awareness and consciousness as two separate experiences. One being of the mind, one being related to the heart. One requires effort to maintain an equilibrium and to deal with
that one, yeah.
the constant pursuit of trying to enjoy life and be happy, and how do they say, the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain.
Yeah.
But it's an effort, and that effort is contributory to, in our experience, issues relating to stress, anxiety, and depression. In many ways, it can lead to an exhaustion.
Yeah, which is not where well-being is. They're all areas of stressful emotion, anxiety emotion, all areas which are away from well-being.